Let's talk about what it would take to reach the level of 1,000, a big number. At this stage, you're starting to run into people, competition, who have also spent a significant amount of time studying chess, playing chess, working on their game. But I want to stress the main two things that this group needs to develop are the same as the groups below them, namely to master the dimension of material. There are 3 dimensions to the game: material, time, and quality of position. We'll talk a little bit about the latter 2, but at the moment, to get to 1,000, we want to be stingy. We want to learn how to take pieces, and we want to learn how to keep our pieces. And we need to learn to take it all away and mate our bare opponent's king with a queen or a rook. Number 2, we need to learn how to move slower. And learning to move slower will help us then develop our deeper chess skills. Okay, so before I go on, I want to say the advice I'm going to give here is designed for the ChessDojo training program. However, you do not need to use the ChessDojo training program to follow what I'm about to show you. The ChessDojo program will simply facilitate you to do the tasks that we require you to do, or we could say that we think that if you do them, that you will reach the next level. Okay. So let's get into it. And first we're going to talk about ratings. We have designed this rating translator. And so when I say 1,000, we're really talking about FIDE. Even though FIDE doesn't itself go down to 1,000, perhaps one day it will, this is what we've constructed to translate across the different dimensions. So you see 1,000 is about 1050 USCF, and then you can see ChessCom and Lichess are inflated above that. Okay, so now let's move to the scoreboard. And what we are looking at is the cohort for this group. And it's actually, you can see, much bigger. Look at that, much bigger. I got rid of myself than the earlier groups that we looked at in the previous videos. And let's take a look at some of these requirements. I talked a little bit about the Polgar mate in 1s and 2s in the last section. And the thing I want you to see, the last video, excuse me, that what I want you to see here is that while several people have done the mate in 1s, this has been going on for about a month. Most of the people here have not been here for the full month. Nobody has finished the mate in 2s yet. And you can see that the mate in 2s have gotten bigger. The amount has gotten bigger. There, 300 to basically 400 mate in 2s. The layups of chess that will help you develop visualization. Then we got the chess workbook, and that is about learning how to keep material. And then again, Puzzle Rush. That's the PR of the 5-minute Puzzle Rush, and then the survival. And you can see several people have already completed that. And what's going on there, okay, is even before we started our program, people were learning openings and they were doing this Puzzle Rush. So a lot of people are already quite competent at doing this Puzzle Rush at 5 minutes and then the survival. Okay, we have our end game, and then we have the games to study, game to memorize. Now, nota bene. For openings, we only have the opening principles video. And at this stage of people 800 to 1,000, trust me, they are screaming at us. They're like, why don't you let me do openings? And the answer is for your own benefit. You do not want to be doing theory at this point, learning sequences of moves. You want to be focusing on the principles. Trust me on this. It will not help you to do opening theory at this point. And as I said in the last video, the reason people get seduced by it is the feeling of power that they give when this, which is illusory, the feeling of power that they know something, that they're holding over their opponent. Whereas really, if they hold in their hands the opening principles, that is something far more powerful. The opening principles, by the way, really point to the other further 2 dimensions that you should be at this point tasting a little bit. the dimensions of time and then quality of position that you do not need really to know anything about at this stage in your chess career to make it to 1,000. Later, though, you of course will, and at this point you're just getting a sniff of what those other two dimensions are. Okay, and then of course we have the classical games and postmortems. That is the biggest feature of our program, and you can see several people are working on this quite diligently. It's only been a month, and PM, by the way, stands for postmortems. We very much want people to hold a chat with their opponent, whether it's online or over the board, to see how they saw the game, see it through their eyes, and talk about the critical positions. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on Angry Nartier's, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, I think it's Angry Tangerine. And we're going to focus on one of his games to kind of talk about what the journey of 800 to 1,000 is. And first, before we go there, I want to show that he's been very busy, and he started with a Chess.com rapid rating of 967 and is at 1099. So he is crushing it here with 132 of a rating increase just since the program began. Okay, so let's look at one of his games here. And let's go here. And as you can see in his notes, he's gotten really deep, and I like it. Begins with an evaluation of his games. And if I could offer a mild criticism, it's kind of funny that he's talking about this fancy gambit. I had never heard of the Blackburn-Klosterberg gambit either. We'll get into it. But I love what he's saying with time management, great thought process. He's evaluating himself. And one of the key skills going forward is that to understand that by going over your games and writing some notes about it, you're not just improving your game, you're improving your ability to think about your game. And so this art of writing won't come immediately. And I've been very impressed, actually, since the beginning of this program. So many people have been diligent about writing annotations to their games, and that was one of the things I was worried about, honestly. But I'm just seeing hundreds of annotated games, and they're very well done. And if I offer criticism of the annotations, I'm just trying to be constructive about it, because really, as you can see, Angry Narty has really done a great job here. So the Scandi, and now this interesting thing. Now, one thing that's curious about this is perhaps this is, some weird, I'm going to guess this is like from an internet video. Black comes up with this gambit. But at the very least, he is getting some active development. And could White take on b7? Yes, he could. But I kind of like the way White plays it. There's no need. We'll just develop our stuff. Okay, castles. And he gives us a question mark. It's hard for me to imagine that this is actually a bad move. Because knight d4, yes, it's attacking the knight, but it's also not a developing move. And we calmly play here, and queen f6. And I'm not thrilled with this queen f6 move, because it's designed to snaggle some pawns, and really a simple move to meet it here would just be c3. If he wants to trade everything off, fine. We'll go into the endgame. We're up a pawn. And like I said at the beginning, right now our main job is to grab the material and hold on to it. I will not always be preaching that message, but at this level, that is very much what I am doing. So, queen f6, bishop d5. And he, in fact, does give this variation. Great. And I don't think Black should trade that thing, but I love that he gives an evaluation at the end and says White's a little bit better. From a GM perspective, I think this is close to lost for Black. And I could explain why, but the main thing is we've got our extra beautiful pawn. There's other reasons, but we're going to talk about those in different videos. Okay, so bishop d5. Now, fine. Queen d6, bishop b7, rook b8. Now, here's a critical thing. Something to really understand here is that this is the critical moment. Like both players need to sense that this is the critical moment. And I'm pretty sure that 20 after bishop e4 means that only 20 seconds was taken. So it's a great example for me to say, hey, this ability to take it slow is why it's so important, why the level of your play will go up so much if you can slow it down. So let's talk about it, this position. Black's king is way undeveloped and he's down some pawns. And bishop e4 might seem like, oh, that's the move I gotta do because that's the only square. But then we're running into a little bit of grief. Now, the game's not over. We'll see what happens after this. But this is the moment to think about it. And I think a clever move would be, at least something we should think about, is c3. Yeah, c3, great. You know, if he takes the knight, then our bishop comes back with tempo. Thank you very much. So this would be a way to resolve the tension. You're still up some pawns. The king's a wreck. Very little risk. After bishop e4, things are getting a little creaky, right? Because there's no clean way to not lose the piece that I can see. So we go down a piece. Again, notice how the combination of thinking longer and material, trying to control our material balance went hand in hand there. One mistake led to the other, right? And I think, for example, you could say not taking long enough led to him losing the material, but also if he had said to himself, oh, I'm really not going to lose any material, there would be a better chance that he would have found a move like c3. All right, so here we go. Not sure about it. Like it. Okay, this was actually very clever because he's threatening queen a4. And this is the kind of trick very much that comes up in Puzzle Rush all the time. So for example, if black had fallen for it, we say check to the miserable king, and then we grab that bishop there on g4. Beautiful. Okay, so queen c6. Poor, he should play knight f6 to develop his business. We'll talk more about development in the future videos. h3, probably knight takes e5 was possible. Crazy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And somehow, Black just resigned. Why did he resign? No one knows. No one knows. So that's one of the strange things about online chess too. You never know what's going to happen. Is white better here? Yeah. Is it a very interesting position still? Very much so. And he says clearly better for white. Okay, hard to evaluate even for me, honestly, in this one. And I want to stress that even if I disagree with, like, let's say, the evaluation at the end of the line, it's such an important skill to try to force yourself to create an evaluation at the end of the line. Because you will play, when you are playing, you will be in a situation where you are seeing in advance and have to judge between two different lines, maybe even between more than two different lines, and you'll have to weigh those things as an evaluation. In general, most chess positions are not like white to play and win or black to play and win as they are in chess puzzles. That's why going over your games will force you to see lines and evaluate them, where you have to turn on this evaluation function in your mind, and that takes time and deep thought. So let's leave it there. I know people are upset that I am not talking about openings yet. And they are screaming at me on our Discord and all kinds of other things. Kraai, why can't I do the openings yet? And I want to say we will get there. But one of the reasons that openings are not what we want to do here is at this level, your opponents aren't going to be following the deep theory that you learned in some video or Chessable course or whatever it was that you learned it in. And being religious about following the principles of opening development will help you more. And as we pass 1,000, we're going to get into then the other dimensions of the game. But I want to stress, for right now, your journey to 1,000 should be focused on being a stingy, rotten, you know what, and never giving away your toys, your pieces. That is the way to get to 1,000. And in addition, you want to be thinking long. And by thinking long, mostly at this stage, what we're talking about is checking and double checking that you're not giving away stuff. And in a position like that, trying to find a way to not lose your bishop that's there on b7. Okay, till next time, where we are going to go past the 1,000 mark and talk about what chess on the other side of that looks like. Bye.